The Invincibles. A name not originally designed to flatter. The all-conquering Preston North End team of the 1880s was the first club accused of buying the league. The Invincibles' nickname was a jibe at how any other team could be expected to compete with them, given their shady tactics in recruiting the best players and paying them to play. However, in 1889, the Lily-Whites truly earned that nickname and made it their own. At the end of the season they were crowned undefeated league champions and, to top it all off, they won the FA Cup that season without conceding a single goal. Though that team contained many specially scouted and recruited players from north of the border, it also contained some local lads who loved their hometown. Here are the stories of the men who made up that great team and what happened to them. Goalkeeper. James Traynor. The man in goal for most of that season was Welsh international James Traynor, although you wouldn't know it from the team photographs. Born in Wrexham in 1863, there's a particular story about how Preston signed him. He played for Bolton against Preston and conceded 12 goals. It sounds like a disaster, but Preston's manager, William Sudell, saw something others didn't. He saw that Traynor was a great keeper forced into an impossible situation and he signed him straight away. During the unbeaten season, Traynor played 20 of the 22 league matches and got his winner's medal. The FA Cup was a different story. Preston used a different goalkeeper in the cup games, pioneering the now common tradition of the cup keeper, so Traynor never got his hands on a medal. It also meant he missed out on the famous team photos as the cup was considered the main achievement over the fledgling league title. Known as a real eccentric of the early game, he'd stand in his goalmouth wearing a Macintosh, brolly up whilst the play was at the other end of the pitch. After football, Traynor tried to do something ambitious. He attempted to create an indoor soccer exhibition at London's Olympia, a spectacle to show off the beautiful game. It failed completely and cost him every penny he had. When he died in Paddington in 1915 at just 52 years old, he had nothing left. He was buried in a common grave, no headstone, no marker, no lasting legacy. A sad end for a great keeper who loved the game. Full-back. Bob Howarth. The first of the two full-backs in the 2-3-5 formation the team played that season was Bob Howarth. Howarth was born in Preston in 1865. Unlike the Scottish ringers that Sudell had recruited, Howarth was a local lad. He appeared in 18 of 22 league games during the Invincible season and played in the 1889 FA Cup final victory over Wolverhampton. More remarkably, after Preston won the league, Howarth moved to Everton, and won the league with them too in 1890-91, making him the first double champion with two different teams. He earned 5 England caps, which was substantial for an era where few international matches were played. When his playing days ended, he became a solicitor's clerk in his hometown. He passed away aged 73, still respected in his community, and was buried in Preston Cemetery. Full-back. Bob Holmes. His partner at left fullback Bob Holmes has a different story entirely. Born in Preston in 1867, he played every single minute of football in the famous 1888-89 season. Every single minute of every league and cup game. For 14 years he represented his hometown club, an unusually long spell for his era, and his consistency eventually won him the captaincy. He wasn't the fastest defender, he wasn't the flashiest, he played through intelligence, positioning, and excellent reading of the game. After football, Holmes built a bespoke tailoring business on Corporation Street in Preston, always appearing immaculately dressed in clothes of his own making. Fittingly, in 1954 at 87 years old, Bob went to watch Preston play in the FA Cup final. When he died the following year at 88, the national newspapers called it the end of an era. He was the last man standing from this great team. Halfback. Johnny Graham. Johnny Graham was born in Coylton, Scotland in 1857. The original human sling, Graham was hurling long throws into the box over a century before Rory Delap was doing it on a cold Wednesday night in Stoke. A quarryman by trade, he traded hurling rocks for hurling the heavy leather ball towards goal on the weekends. He played in 21 of the 22 league games, then in March 1890, disaster struck when he broke his collarbone. Ever the hard man, he finished the match but, at 33, his career didn't recover from this. He stayed in Preston for a time before moving back home to Esher where he passed away on his 70th birthday. Halfback. David Russell. David Russell was the Scotsman at the centre of the engine room of the Invincibles. Born in 1863, he was the enforcer, physical and rugged. The kind of player who played on the edge of what the referees would allow, and, in 1888, that was quite a lot. In fact, the FA suspended him in 1886 for chasing an opponent down the pitch and kicking 7 bells out of him. Definitely a man you wouldn't want to cross. He played 18 of the league matches and every FA Cup tie. In the semi-final against West Bromwich Albion, he scored the only goal that sent Preston to the final and set them on the path to the double. After Preston, Russell became a journeyman. He turned out for Nottingham Forest, Ardwick, the team which would later become Manchester City, then Notts County. He eventually retired to Esher and lived away from the public eye. Halfback. Sandy Robertson. Sandy Robertson was the right half. Another of the Scottish recruits, he was born in Edinburgh in 1860 and, unusually for a halfback, he was a regular goalscorer. He scored 3 crucial goals that season, including the opener in a vital 3-2 comeback against Derby County early in the campaign to keep the Invincibles' dream alive. He played 21 of the 22 league games. Robertson later played for the original Arsenal in London before emigrating to South Africa, where he lived out the rest of his days. Now for the forwards. Jimmy Ross. Fellow Scotsman James Ross was born in Edinburgh in 1866. His nickname was the Little Demon, which says it all. During the Invincible season, he scored 19 goals in 21 league appearances. One of the most celebrated forwards in the country, he also scored in the FA Cup final. After Preston, he had a stellar reputation as a star forward and he moved to Liverpool, becoming their captain. Sadly, Ross died at the young age of 36, never getting to bask in the glory of his achievements. He was buried in Anfield Cemetery in Liverpool. Centre forward. John Goodall. Londoner John Goodall was born in 1863. A different kind of forward, way ahead of his time, he relied on quick thinking and skill over brute strength. He revolutionized how forwards played, actively integrating the wingers into the game in a time when forwards often selfishly dribbled towards goal. During the Invincible season, Goodall scored 21 goals in 21 games, finishing as top scorer in the league that season. An exceptional player and another noted eccentric, often bringing his pet fox to training. When the season ended, Goodall left Preston immediately and went to Derby County, where he became a mentor to future legend Steve Bloomer, one of the greatest strikers in English football history. He also became one of the first players to manage abroad, managing in France as well as at home with Watford. When Goodall died in Watford in 1933, he was buried in an unmarked grave. For nearly a century, nobody knew where the man who revolutionized forward play was buried. Then, in 2018, his fans raised funds for a memorial in recognition of his remarkable career. Inside forward. Fred Dewhurst. Captain of the cup-winning team, Fred Dewhurst was a local Preston boy, born in 1863. A schoolmaster by trade, he was one of the dying breed of gentleman players who played for the love of it. He kept his amateur status whilst almost everyone else was being paid to play. In the 1889 FA Cup final at the Kennington Oval, Dewhurst scored within the first 40 seconds, a record that would stand for over a century. He scored 12 goals in 16 league games, an incredible return for an inside forward, even more incredible given his amateur status and given his health was already failing. He retired from football early, aged 27. Just 5 years later he tragically passed away from pneumonia. He was 31 years old. His funeral in Preston was attended by thousands as the town turned out to mourn their FA Cup hometown hero. Onto the wingers. Outside right. Jack Gordon. The right winger of the Invincibles team was Scotsman Jack Gordon. Born in the Bridge of Weir in 1861, his partnership with Jimmy Ross was the most feared attacking combination in the country. The David Beckham of his day, his crosses were deadly accurate, his shooting wasn't bad either, 10 goals in 22 league games, which was an unusually high return for a winger. Wingers were often the supporting cast rather than the stars of the time. Like many of his contemporaries, he was more of a general sportsman than a pure footballer. Baseball was the other sport he excelled at. After football, and a severe health scare that nearly killed him, Gordon moved to London and opened a billiards room. He passed away in 1941 at the grand old age of 80 as one of the last surviving Invincibles. Outside left, Sam Thomson. Another of the Scottish stars, Sammy Thomson was born in Lugar in 1862. From outside left he scored the second goal in a 3-0 FA Cup final victory over Wolverhampton. After his playing days with Preston ended, Thomson joined the team they beat that day. Wolverhampton and Preston supporters weren't entirely happy about this move. He later played for Accrington. When the dust had settled he returned to Preston, not as a player, but as a railway clerk. He stayed in Preston for 50 years. Always good value for his anecdotes about his playing days, journalists would seek him out to hear his memories. He lived to be 81. When he died in 1943, he died as a well-respected man loved by his community. The Cup Keeper. Robert Mills Roberts. What is now a common occurrence was arguably pioneered by Preston North End. Robert Mills Roberts was the Cup Keeper. The one who kept a clean sheet in every single cup game. After football, he accomplished much outside of the game. He qualified as a surgeon, serving in the armed forces as a medical officer in the Boer War, and became a renowned doctor in Wales. Despite his incredible achievement on the pitch, a record that still stands to this day, his life after football arguably defined him more than his playing days ever did. The backup players. George Drummond. Drummond was a real utility man in the squad, filling in across several positions that famous season, including in goal on occasion. He racked up 12 appearances in total, even getting a goal against Everton. After leaving the game in 1899, he stayed in Preston, becoming a pub landlord. He passed away in 1914. Jack Edwards. Backup forward Jack Edwards only made 4 appearances in the Invincibles season, but remarkably he bagged 3 goals, a 75% strike rate. His life after football gets murky and little is known about his later life, but he'll always have a place in the records for his contribution to the double-winning season. Archie Goodall. The younger brother of star forward John was, in many ways, his polar opposite. A robust and tough forward, he was one of the younger members of the squad and found his chances limited. He did, however, make 2 appearances and scored a goal on his debut. He would be mainly remembered for his time at Derby County, where he made over 400 appearances. He was also an Irish international, giving the Goodall brothers the unusual distinction of representing 2 different nations. Willie Graham. In a doubleheader of sibling teammates, the much younger brother of John Graham also made a handful of appearances as a halfback in that famous campaign. Jock Inglis. Scottish international winger John Inglis was in the twilight of his career in the 1888 season. An FA Cup winner with Blackburn Rovers 5 years earlier, he was primarily a coach at Deepdale but did make a single appearance on the wing in the Invincibles season. Richard Whittle. Another player who made a single appearance that season was full-back Dickie Whittle, and it was certainly a memorable one. In a 7-0 thrashing of Stoke, Whittle smashed home a 30-yard scorcher, marking his place in the history books. Now, finally, for the mastermind behind it all, the manager. William Sudell. The controversial visionary behind this success was William Sudell. His radical concept of scouting the best players and signing them to play for his team was unheard of, at least on such a grand scale. He wasn't the first to pay players backhandedly, but he made a success of it. His practice of employing players in local mills to disguise the fact he was paying them to play football did not win him many fans outside of Preston. However, he set a precedent that paying professionals to win things for you was the road to success, and it still rings true today. Nonetheless, that success came with a cost. In 1895 it was discovered that Sudell had embezzled roughly £5,000 from Hartley's cotton mill to fund the football club. This was enough to land him a 3-year stretch inside. When he was released, he emigrated to South Africa like several of his players and became a sports journalist, dying in 1911. Here's what the Invincibles achieved that year. 22 unbeaten league matches and an FA Cup without a single goal conceded, a record that still stands in 2026. The Invincibles achieved the perfect season as a team, but the real stories belong to the individuals whose fates differed so greatly after the party was over. If you're interested in hearing more forgotten football stories like this, hit the subscribe button. And please like and share this video. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with more good old-fashioned football next time.